this particular quarter where it should be.
Speaker.
Alfred Nauru.
Mr. Speaker, I stand and rise to take a call on this Prisoners and Victims Claims Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill in its first reading. I'd like to acknowledge and to thank the Honourable Member Leanne Dalziel. I don't have the history of the debate and the discussion over its previous course, but I do agree with the issues around support, having previously been part of support groups to help those victims, especially those victims of crime, and especially our vulnerable, and especially our women and our children. And so the list that she read out is a list of definitely the areas of concern and care that's needed in support of them. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Phil Goff spoke about restorative justice, and I do have some experience in that, and I would agree that this is an approach to justice that focuses on the needs of the victims and also the offenders, as well as the involved community. I think we don't often talk about that when we talk about restorative justice. It's not only just the victim and the offender, but it's the whole of the community working collectively together. It ensures that the victims take an active role, but also that the offenders are encouraged to take responsibility for their actions. That's absolutely important, and I think that's what's important. What I'm looking forward to, Mr. Speaker, is to having the debate. As again, having been part of its history previously, I'd like to hear these issues, and I think that there's some merit in some of the conversations to be had in the Select Committee. And so I think that's important. I think the things that we'll be debating, for instance, around the Prisoners and Victims Act of 2005, which did respond to some of the concern that offenders shouldn't receive compensation. Mr. Speaker, I was fortunate to be in the Justice Electoral Select Committee, where we heard submissions on the Victims of Crime Reform Bill. And yes, there was the Sensible Sentencing Trust, Garth McVicker and others. And what we heard really clearly there, Mr. Speaker, is there a need for balance in the system that does take into concern the needs of the victim. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the discussion to first reading and also into the Select Committee for this bill. Thank you.
Split call, Dr. Megan.